even the number one seed goes to an unfamiliar arena or that kind of thing, there's a wow factor. Does it just help that everything's just so normal and the whole wow factor for your team isn't there because you've already played, however many games here already this year?
Is that for me or for Chris? I think that anytime you can play at home, it's an advantage. And it's definitely a wow factor because you're hosting a regional. I mean, we're a national seed. So it's definitely a wow factor when you get to host a regional. There's no question about it. There's a difference between playing at home in a regional and going on the road. So when you've got all the people that we're going to have in here Friday night in purple and orange pulling for our club, making this one of the best atmospheres in all of college baseball, and they're here to pull for our players, I think that's a big factor. That's the home field advantage that we all talk about. It's that comfort zone of being able to play at home.
But on the other side of that, the fact that the hitters are all familiar with the hitting background, the pitchers are familiar with the mound. You see what I'm saying? Maybe there's an advantage in the fact that it's really kind of normal from that respect.
Well, I think you play better in venues that you're more comfortable with when you know the speed of the playing surface as an infield, you know the background when a ball's hit in the air. All those factors and elements of a baseball field, which way the wind blows, what does the field play like under the lights, when it starts to go from daylight to dark. All those things I think are important to understand, and I can promise you that in the 3 practices besides ours today, that's one thing that the other 3 teams are going to be looking at is how does the ball play off the wall, what does the ball look like in the air, what's the speed of the infield, what's the ball do on a bunt, does it hug the line, does it roll foul, all those things are going to be important in terms of the elements of the ballpark that you're familiar with or you're not. So yeah, I think it's an advantage when you can play in your home ballpark. We practice here and play here, so we're more comfortable here.
Coach, it's not quite been a year since you've been hired. A year ago, or not quite a year ago, when you took this job, did you picture yourself sitting here with this group, ready to host the regional and kind of the road to Omaha beginning here in Clemson?
I'll be honest with you, I don't look at it like that. I really don't look at, I promise you, I don't look at the end result. I never, I did as a young coach, and I've been severely disappointed. I think when you start talking about Omaha and you start talking about hosting a regional and winning a super regional, and you start talking about the end result so much, let's win our conference, let's do this, let's accomplish all these end result type goals. When you start talking about all that stuff, I think you're going to be disappointed because you're going to hit a tough patch somewhere in the season. If that's been your focus the whole time, your team's going to start to question, can we really do that? Because that's all Coach talks about. I don't really talk about that. My goal has always been to get the most out of my team every single day, to develop them as players and as people, get them to trust in what we do as coaches, get them to trust in each other and play hard and do it together. It's all about trying to get the most out of a team because every year the team is different. Even if you got a lot of guys coming back, you got new guys coming in, you got guys going out into professional baseball and graduation, the chemistry of that team is always different year in and year out. So to me, it's all about trying to get the most out of every single player and our team. That's my job, and that's my goal. And this is a byproduct, I think, of that. Of being where we're at is a byproduct of these kids buying in to what we've wanted them to do since day one. They've been extremely coachable. We've had very few distractions. We've had very few issues, and that's because we have great leaders on our ball club who get everybody going in the right direction, and they police themselves. So to me, it's all about just establishing the right kind of culture within the team and within the program, but we had the right kids in place. I think that's a big part of it. When you got a kid like these 3, who sit here, it makes my job easier because they buy in, they're really good, and other guys are going to look to them and say, you know what, if Okie and Beer and Crawl and Eli White and et cetera, if they're going to do it and it's important to them, it better be important to us. And when you've got that kind of buy-in factor, then you have success. So to me, I never really thought about that kind of stuff. Again, I can only control today, and I've learned that a long time ago. Only worry about what you can control. And I got to try to get the most out of my team today and get them in a positive state of mind to compete as hard as they can, and that's what we try to worry about.